I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, writing about how my world blew up in one night. I married Emily when I was 28. She was gorgeous, fiery, and honestly, kind of a bitch. She knew what she wanted, and she wasn't afraid to tell you exactly how she felt. At first, everything was perfect. We had a good life, or so I thought. We bought a house, had jobs, went on vacations, the usual stuff. But as the years went by, I started noticing little things that didn't quite add up. Emily became more distant. She'd snap at me for no reason, cancel dates last minute, and sometimes I'd catch her texting on her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, so I shrugged it off as stress or work stuff. But deep down, I knew something was off. I'd ask her about it, and she'd roll her eyes, make some snide comment about how I was paranoid or insecure. That's what she was good at, distracting me, making me doubt myself. Meanwhile, her behavior kept getting more erratic, more secretive. Then came the night I found out. I was just coming home after a long day. I noticed her car in the driveway, but she wasn't on her usual schedule. I figured she was at a friend's or maybe working late. I opened the door and immediately sensed something was wrong. The house felt too quiet and the air smelled weird, like perfume I didn't recognize. I called out her name and the only response was her voice floating from the bedroom. I went in, and that's when I saw her. Emily was on the bed, her phone in her hand, and next to her, a pile of used tissues and a condom wrapper. I froze, my heart sank. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. She was lying there, looking up at me with that same bitchy smirk she always had, like she knew she was getting away with something. She tried to brush it off, say I was imagining things, that I was paranoid, but I saw her eyes flicker with guilt. It was like I was hit by a freight train. That moment, seeing her there with another man's clothes all over her, just shattered everything I'd ever believed about us. After I saw her that night, everything changed. I could even speak at first. My mind was racing, trying to process what I'd just seen, but mostly I just felt this deep, gnawing betrayal. How could she do this to me? After everything we'd been through, her bitchy insults, her coldness, the endless little lies, I never thought she'd cheat. And with my best friend of all people, Jason. I mean, come on, the worst betrayal you can imagine is your wife sleeping with your best friend. That's next level shit. I remember standing there trembling, trying to figure out my next move. Emily was trying to play it cool, acting like I was overreacting, but her voice cracked. "It's not what you think, Steve," she said, trying to brush it off like it was no big deal. "It's just sex, it doesn't mean anything." "Yeah, right. Like that makes it okay. Like that makes it less of a betrayal." I looked at her and I could see the lies swirling in her eyes. She kept insisting that Jason and I had no real connection, that it was just a one-time thing, that she was stressed and lonely. But I wasn't buying it. I packed a bag and left that night. Didn't even bother telling her I was going. Just took my stuff and went to stay at my brother's place. I needed space to breathe, to think, but I wasn't fooling myself. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her with Jason. Her bitchy smirk, the way she looked at him like he was her salvation, her escape. It made my stomach turn. I felt stupid, used, and honestly embarrassed that I'd trusted her so completely. How could she lie so effortlessly? How could she betray me, and with my best friend no less? That night was the beginning of a new kind of hell I never saw coming. Meanwhile, Emily kept texting me, insisting it was just sex, that I was overreacting, that we could work it out. But I knew better. I knew that trust was gone, shattered beyond repair. And honestly, part of me just wanted to burn everything down. I was angry, hurt, and confused. How do you even start to forgive someone who's lied about everything, who's been sleeping around with someone you thought was a friend? It felt like the ground beneath me was crumbling, and I had no choice but to watch it fall apart. In the days that followed, everything felt like a blur. I'd sit in my brother's living room, staring at the wall, trying to piece together what had gone wrong. Every time I thought about Emily, about Jason, about that night, a wave of rage and sadness hit me all at once. It was like I'd been punched in the gut, only to realize the punch came from inside my own chest. I kept asking myself, how did I miss the signs? Was I blind? Or just stupid for trusting her at all? Emily kept up her lies, calling me, texting me, trying to convince me she was sorry, that she'd made a mistake. She played it off like she was the victim, saying she was lonely, that Jason was just a rebound, that she didn't mean for it to happen. She even had the nerve to say that I was being paranoid and cruel for believing she'd cheat, that she still loved me, that it was just a stupid mistake. I listened to her, but it all felt hollow. I knew her too well. She was good at lying, at twisting things so she'd come out looking like victim, but I wasn't buying it. I didn't want her to guilt trip me into staying. I was done. Done with her bullshit. I started making plans, trying to figure out what my next move was. I wanted to hurt her the way she'd hurt me, not physically but emotionally. I remembered Jason's number, how I'd always trusted him, considered him a brother. Now I saw him for what he really was, a snake. I knew I had to do something, but I also knew I had to be smart about it. Revenge wasn't just about making her suffer, it was about making sure she knew exactly how much she'd screwed up. One night I sat in my brother's garage poring over her phone. I needed to see if she was still hiding anything. And boy, did I find it. Texts, calls, flirty messages with Jason talking about when they'd see each other again, how much they missed their nights. It was worse than I could have imagined. They'd been hooking up for weeks. I felt a mix of disgust and heartbreak. I'd trusted her. And she'd taken that trust, torn it apart, and stepped all over it. It was like discovering that everything I thought I knew about her was just a lie. She was a different person all along, someone I never really knew. And Jason, he wasn't just my best friend. He was a traitor, a snake, someone I'd trusted with my life. Now I knew I'd have to do something about it. I just didn't know what yet. That night, after I'd gone through her phone and saw the full extent of the betrayal, I felt like I was walking around in a fog. My stomach was twisted, my head pounding, and I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her with Jason, her bitchy smirk, the way she looked at him like he was her salvation. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs. How long had she been doing this? How long had she been lying to me? I knew I had to confront her, but I also knew I couldn't do it impulsively. I wanted her to see how much she'd hurt me, how much I'd been blindsided by her lies, so I waited. The next day I called her, trying to sound calm but feeling like I was about to explode. When she answered, her voice was all sugary and fake, like she was putting on a show. "Hi, Steve, I was wondering when you'd call." I took a breath. "We need to talk now." She hesitated, then said, "What's there to talk about? I already told you I messed up. It was just sex, just a mistake." I couldn't hold back anymore. "No, Emily, it's not just sex. I found out you've been sneaking around with Jason, my best friend. You've been lying to my face this whole time. Do you even understand how much you've hurt me, how much you've betrayed everything we had?" Her reaction was a typical bitchy smirk. "Oh, please, Steve, you're overreacting, you're insecure, and honestly, I was just lonely. You're not the only one who's been hurt. Jason and I, we care about each other. Maybe you're just too blind to see what's really going on." That made my blood boil. I wanted to throw something, but I kept my voice steady. "Care about each other. You're sleeping with my best friend. That's the line you're crossing. You really think that's okay?" She scoffed. "I don't need to explain myself to you. You're just a control freak. I don't have to justify anything. I'm done with your excuses." I felt like I'd been punched again, but I forced myself to stay focused. This wasn't about her excuses anymore. It was about what I was going to do next. I realized then that I couldn't let her get away with it, not without some kind of consequence. Because if I stayed silent, she'd just keep lying, keep cheating, keep hurting me. And Jason. I was done pretending I didn't know. I needed to make sure they both understood that their betrayal wasn't going to go unpunished. That night I made a decision. I was going to teach her a lesson, a brutal lesson, and I was going to do it in a way that she'd never forget. Over the next few days, I plotted my revenge carefully. I didn't want to do something reckless. I needed her to see that she'd crossed a line so far that there was no coming back from it. I knew I had to hit her where it hurt, but I also wanted her to understand exactly how much she'd destroyed. Every time I thought about her bitchy smirk, about Jason's stupid face, I felt a surge of cold rage. I was angry but determined. I started by gathering evidence, making sure I had everything I needed. I set up a hidden camera in the house, just in case she tried to deny anything later. I also contacted a private investigator friend, someone I knew I could trust, who tracked Jason's movements for me. I wanted to see if they were still sneaking around or if they'd moved on to something bigger. The plan was simple. expose everything, confront her with proof, and make her realize the mess she created. One evening, I invited her over to my brother's place under the pretense that I wanted to talk things out. I wanted her to believe I was willing to listen. But what I really wanted was her reaction when she saw the evidence I had accumulated. I knew she'd be furious, embarrassed, maybe even scared. I wanted her to feel the weight of her lies. When she arrived, I played it cool. She strutted in, acting all confident, trying to act like she still had control. I didn't give her that satisfaction. I showed her the recordings, the text messages, the call logs. Her face went pale. She stammered, tried to lie her way out of it, but I cut her off every time. "Save it, Emily, I've seen enough. You've been cheating on me with Jason for weeks, while I was at work, while I was trusting you. You used me, lied to my face, and now you want to act like it's no big deal." Her eyes flashed with anger. "You're psycho. You're just jealous because Jason actually cares about me. Maybe if you weren't so insecure, you'd see that I deserve better than this," she spat out. I felt my fists tight. "You don't get to spin this. I've had enough. I want you gone. And Jason, I know about him too. I'm done pretending I didn't see all the texts, all the calls. You both are dead to me now." Her bitchy smirk faded, replaced with something nasty. She tried to play the victim, but the damage was done. I could see in her eyes that she knew she'd lost. She stormed out that night, screaming at me, calling me crazy, saying I was overreacting, but I didn't care. I'd made my point. She had pushed me as far as I could go, and I was done being the fool, done being betrayed. I was finally ready to take control of the mess she'd made, to make her see that her actions had consequences. After she left that night, I felt a strange mixture of relief and emptiness. For so long, I'd carried the weight of her lies, her constant bullshit, and her manipulations. Now that I had everything out in the open, I finally felt like I could breathe again, though the ache of betrayal still lingered deep inside. I knew I'd never forget what she did, but I also knew I had to move forward somehow. In the days that followed, I started packing up the rest of her stuff. I didn't want her in my house anymore. Every corner of that place echoed with memories I didn't want to keep. I told her it was over, no more excuses, no more lies. She fought it, of course, screaming on the phone, trying to come back, begging me to forgive her, claiming she was sorry and that she'd change. But I wasn't interested in her apologies anymore. I'd given her too many chances and she'd thrown them all away. The hardest part was realizing how much I'd trusted her, how I'd let her manipulate me into believing she was the victim. But now, looking back, I saw her for what she was: selfish, bitchy, a liar who thought she could get away with anything. Jason was just as bad. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind, so naive. But that's what betrayal does: shatters your trust, flips your world upside down, and makes you question everything you thought was real. I've come to accept that some truths are too painful to ignore. Yes, Emily was cheating on me with my best friend, and yes, that hurt like hell. But the real lesson was learning to stand up after being knocked down, to reclaim my dignity and move on. I'm not perfect, but I'm better now, wiser. I know that people can surprise you, and not always in a good way. I learned that betrayal cuts deep, but it also forces you to grow. Looking back, I realize I was more betrayed by the life I thought I had, by the illusions I'd built around her and us, than by her cheating. The truth, as ugly as it was, set me free. Now I'm alone, yes, but I'm also free to rebuild, to find someone who won't lie or cheat or manipulate. The scars will fade, but I'll never forget what I learned. Trust is precious, fragile, and not to be taken for granted. And sometimes the only way to heal is to cut out the poison, no matter how much it hurts.